Welcome, 1, 2, 3.
But they're gonna have to talk loud.
Check, check.
Because it should be. I can also just. Okay, that should be good. Well, that's lives in Layton. Give me one more good morning. I'll say good morning there, Mr.
Good morning. Test, test, test. Good morning.
So he doesn't have the
More?
financial constraints. Like I have to.
Test, test, test.
Separate them that way they don't.
Is this one all right?
Basically gave him the house. Your wireless sounds great. We can, if you sounds
That work?
Yep.
Test?
Like,
Test, test. Everybody good?
Oh, that's
Okay.
picking up lovely.
All right. Terrific.
Yeah. They're hot. But again, every year you listen.
Monitor the audio for me. We're about 1 minute out.
Yeah.
You guys ready?
Sure will.
Actually, we have Denise is going to be our
I'm going to do this, Nubia. I'm going to put my watch and my phone there
She's
because
hiding.
everything starts going
Test,
off
test,
and I get
test.
distracted.
So help me stress it when you give it to me. Like a flashlight. Not like this. Right here. Yeah. That one closer.
Sorry.
I know it's my mom's vitamin, that's zinc. It just is not to take the zinc in it. Okay. This one's that I know. Don't do
Ready? Okay, let's get started. Let me welcome everybody and remind you, if anyone needs translation services, the headphones are, I thought I saw them.
Headphones up here. Sorry.
Headphones are here, and translation services are provided by Dr. Mora, who's sitting in the back. Good. Okay, again, thank you for joining us. This is, I think, probably our third or fourth opportunity to have this conversation. And so what I want to paint a picture for you to help you understand a little bit of what we do to build a budget in a school district, okay? And again, we have seats up front. Please try to get where you can see so that these numbers will be available to you. So the process to build a budget, our budget at the end of the day is tied to enrollment. And one of the facts around enrollment for Gadsden is for the past 14 years, you've had a declining enrollment. I've been here for 8 of those. And it's been a little at a time. That's impacted by a lot of factors. The biggest is birth rates. It's nothing Gadsden's doing wrong. If you look at El Paso, if you look at Las Cruces, if you look even north in New Mexico, again, birth rates are lower, and they've been declining over the course of the last several decades. And so we, in my opinion, we have to plan accordingly. Now, there's some national politics that have started to get involved here, right? And those could have some impacts as well. And we got to be thoughtful about those things. Mr. Carmona, can you show me the graph of the last 7 years of enrollment? The last 7 years in enrollment, this is a graph of the last 7 years of enrollment. And so from 13,120 to today at about 11,300. And we're projected to be somewhere in this range. Unfortunately, that's trending down. There's nothing right now, there's no impact in the district that tells me we're going to start trending up. So what I'm trying to do, at the end of the day, my job is the finances of the district. We prepare the budget, and the board approves it, is to prepare a budget for next year and the following year so that we're ready to adjust to those changes. Now, in my 8 years, one of the unique things in my time here, I've had a declining enrollment, just like I told you, and an increased budget. And you probably ask yourself, well, how's that possible? That's a factor. The biggest factor is what's called the unit value. Every year, the state assigns a unit value, and that unit value has increased significantly over the last 8 years. I do not believe that unit value will continue to increase at the same rate that we're losing students. So my fear is, in the next couple years, what's going to happen in Gadsden is you're going to see a decline, that enrollment trend continues to decline, and the unit value doesn't jump enough to give us that positive budget. So now we have a deficit, a decreased budget. It could happen as soon as next year. Pay particular attention to the special session that's starting right now, this week. There's a legislative session starting this week. The money they spend in this session will be less money available to public education. So pay attention. All that money is one pot. Now I anticipate somewhere between a 2 and a 4% increase in unit value, and depending on our enrollment, if that drops significantly, you may have that negative budget as soon as next budget cycle. That's next year. I think it'll be 2 years out, but I'm trying to put that in place. So, the reason we're here today, and I know this is not an easy conversation, the reason we're here today is the board had asked me at a board meeting at Desert View, they said, Mr. Dempsey, put together an overall plan and put it in front of us. Everything you think that needs to happen to put us in a good place. So I have. And we've talked about it at several board meetings. One of those is the consideration of consolidating Berino Elementary. Why? So if you look at the feeder pattern for Gadsden High School. So these are the elementary schools that feed into Gadsden Middle School and Gadsden Elementary. One important factor that you have to consider is Gadsden Middle School. If you haven't gone by there, we have a complete brand new reconstruction project going on, well on its way. It includes a 6th grade STEM academy. All 6th graders that are on these campuses, when that campus is done, will be moved from the elementaries to the middle school. Okay? The current numbers in each of our middle schools are listed in the second column. And you'll see Berino is the smallest at 306. The current 6th graders, right, are these numbers here, and they would be deducted because you got to think of your number after the middle school's opened. Those would be your estimated numbers. Again, lowest, Berino with the lowest. Okay, the capacity of each campus, that gives you an idea of how much room is there or how much space it's built for, and then the space available in the last column. The age of the building is a factor. Okay, this construction was 1991. I did do a little bit of homework, and I was asked at the last community meeting about Anthony Elementary. What I'll tell you, what I can say about Anthony, the original Anthony Elementary, it is older than Berino. However, major construction project was done in 2010. Right, and that's the plaque. I go by the every time they do a major construction project or a building, they put a plaque on it, and they'll tell you, when it was done, and it documents that. And so, if you don't believe me, at the entrance of each of these buildings, you can go take a picture of it, go look at it. All right. So that's what I've proposed to the board. And that's my recommendation to the board, is the consolidation of Berino Elementary. Now, a couple of factors that have been asked about is, what about dual language? So families and students enrolled in dual language programs would be prioritized, and because we want to keep them in program. We want to continue to give them the opportunity to remain in dual language. And so we would help prioritize them to get them to a dual language campus. And there's 3 campuses that, if this were consolidated, we would share those students with. North Valley, Vado, and Gadsden Elementary. Okay. I think those are pretty much the facts as I understand. One of the things that came up that I didn't get to present last time, and I'll warn you about this chart, it took me a little while. You'll probably catch on a lot faster than me. It took me a little while to understand it. So, Mr. Carmona, can you put up the transfer chart? This is what they've called the transfer matrix. and it shows the number of students at each school, and it's kind of hard to see. It shows the number of students at each school. So everybody's assigned an attendance zone, and it shows the number of students that are not attending in their attendance zone or are attending. And so there's a lot of information on this, but I think the most important is the percent of students attending school from their area. And it gives you a percent. Berino Elementary, 80% of the students that are assigned to Berino Elementary attend Berino Elementary. Okay? And it'll break that down for each campus. So if you want to look at Gadsden Elementary, it's 91%. If you want to look at Loma Linda, it's 83%. If you want to look at North Valley, it's 88%. Vado is 90, La Union 93. So that gives you an idea. But that to me is the most important factor that this matrix, because there was a question that are a lot of our students who should be attending Berino not? And it's really not. That's really not a factor. So it's not a significant number. Okay. I think I've presented all the information I have to you, and I'll be happy to try to answer any questions you might have. Sorry. Yeah, so Mr. Carmona, the room's sort of wired with a
Audio enhanced.
audio enhancement package, if you will.
That's right.
And so when you use that particular, this mic is controlled from here. That mic, you really have to talk right
Really
into it like a
close.
flashlight.
Yep. And like a flashlight, right into your mouth. Si van a usar este micrófono como si fuera una luz y directamente en la boca, si lo pone aquí, no se puede oír, ¿verdad? Así, cerquitas como dos deditos, así. Okay.
Perfect. Questions, comments, ideas? Hang on, we'll get you a mic, because we want everybody to hear your questions.
And that's a great point, Mr. Dempsey. And remember, we're also live streaming this, so if you say something not into the mic, the people at home can't hear you. And we want everyone to hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Dempsey. My
Hi.
name is Corina Lopez. I had a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So my child is in the SPED program. He's autistic, so he's with disabilities. I want to know what's going to happen to the teachers, or like how is he going to be set? Because my home school is Gadsden, and I come to Berino.
Sure.
But at Gadsden, they weren't able to teach him or have him at the level he was supposed to, so that's why they transferred it this way. What's going to happen afterwards with that?
Terrific question. So our SPED students, this is not going to like yell at me, is it? Okay. I didn't want it to, right? Our SPED students and bilingual students, those have to be prioritized. And what we do with SPED students, if you're not aware, we have different units at different campuses, okay? And so we'll have to look at those units that are available. We may have to open units. Now keep in mind, and sometimes people with the other two consolidations that we've done, just make sure you get this. When we move students, we have to move staff with them. We're not just gonna move students and not move staff. So the concern sometimes at those other schools is the amount of students in one classroom is gonna jump. Typically not. And it didn't happen at North Valley. It didn't happen at Vado when we consolidated Mesquite Elementary. Same thing, same story with Southern Park, that when we consolidated and moved to Desert View and Riverside. Those classroom numbers didn't all of a sudden jump because we had to move staff with them. And that's an example of, we're gonna have to look at the units that are available, our kiddos' needs, and we may have to open up some units. That happens. I saw a hand back there. No. Yes.
Buenos días, mi nombre es Alondra y mi pregunta sería, ¿cómo usted me asegura a mí que moviéndolo a otra escuela se van a juntar, van a cerrar Loma Linda, van a cerrar Berino, se van a juntar varias escuelas? ¿Cómo me asegura que la educación va a ser la misma? ¿Que les van a brindar la misma atención a todos los niños? Si aquí siendo poquitos, batalla uno hasta para venir a hablar con la directora. ¿Cómo usted me lo asegura? Está también Hitstar aquí al lado y nunca los unen tampoco para tener aquí. No es el movimiento de la escuela, es que necesitan a alguien que tome las riendas, que es la directora, y que ella les dé ánimos a todos los maestros para que sigan siendo mejores. No es la escuela, es la persona que tiene las riendas de esta escuela. Ahora tengo otra duda. Eso de salir los miércoles temprano, ¿de qué les beneficia? 2 horas, ¿de qué les beneficia? Nada, pierden más educación. Yendo a otra escuela, siendo más niños, si ahorita con 24 niños a veces batallan, ahora teniendo 40 alumnos en una sola clase, ¿qué va a pasar? ¿Se han preguntado las mamás que están solteras que tienen que pagar una para el daycare? ¿O hay niños que ya saben a dónde van a su escuela y ellas ya saben que van a agarrar ahí sus camiones, moviéndolos a otro lado? ¿Cómo le van a hacer?
Okay, let me try to tackle them, and Rosie, help me. One by one. So, transportation. If the decision's made to consolidate Berino, then we are already currently looking at different options of attendance zones. So you'll rezone everybody that attends Berino to another attendance zone. That then drives your transportation and your buses. So then you have to work those routes of how are we going to determine how to transport those students, okay? And it's really a similar process that we did at the other consolidations, but it does, you don't want to start working bus routes until you already have attendance zones established. And that's another decision that will have to be made if the consolidation's approved. Your next step is to approve attendance zones. Okay? What was the other one?
Then she wants to know how we're going to close Loma Linda, and we're going to close Berino, and we're going to have
Okay.
bigger classrooms.
Got you. So remember, that bigger classroom idea, I want you to remember, when we move students, we're moving staff with them. That typically does not increase significantly more students in a classroom because you're opening up more classrooms. Now, right now, we're not necessarily on the topic of Loma Linda, but I'm fine to have that conversation. If you think about what's happened at Loma Linda and Anthony, it's already consolidated. There are no kindergartners, first graders, second graders, third graders, fourth graders, fifth graders at Anthony at all. They're already at Loma Linda. They're already consolidated. It's done. Now, if the board chooses not to take that official act, then they'll have to look at rebuilding it, which is going to be significantly more expensive in the budget. So the concern that we have a worry about our budget, and I'm making a recommendation to consolidate Berino, if the decision's made to not go ahead and consolidate Loma Linda, oh, you have even a worse budget decision. You're further in the hole. What was the other question? Hang on. I don't think I got all our questions. Oh, Wednesday. Great conversation. Early Out Wednesdays. What happens on Early Out Wednesdays? Early Out Wednesdays are an opportunity for our staff to do what we call PLCs, Professional Learning Communities. They then work together to design lessons and lesson planning, review data. It really is a great planning time for them. And while I understand that you may feel that it's not effective, all the research out there says teachers working together is an effective way to move academically. If you're not aware how we're doing academically, let me share with you. We academically have done better in terms of growth than any district in the state of New Mexico. We have really set the standard for academic achievement. And so I would suggest those early releases are a huge benefit to our staff, and they help them prepare and plan. And we're very strict with them. Very strict with how they use that time. It's not just basically free time for them to go do whatever they want to do. In fact, teachers ask me all the time, can I go grade papers? Can I go? And no. We have to sit together. Our directors are in those meetings all the time, our instructional coaches. It is a very specific time that we have tried very hard to respect and make sure we utilize it for the right reasons. I don't know.
I have a question. No, I'm good.
Well, we really need you to use the mic
okay.
because we have people online. Thank
My
you.
question is, at the first community meeting we had at Gadsden, you did say that if we did consolidate Berino, you'd be bringing maybe the early college here, that Berino may be used for that? The early college?
Yes.
Okay. How many students are in that early college? Do you know?
There's about 200 students at early college.
200. Okay.
About 200 students at the early college, Alta Vista Early College. And if you're not aware, the #1 performing school in Doña Ana County and one of the top 10 in the state of New Mexico.
Good morning. I just want to ask Mr. Dempsey, you just stated that the staff and the students will move together. Is it good? When you move the staff and the children together to the new school, wherever it is they're going to be assigned to, does that school already have the capacity of a structured classroom in that school, or will portables be popping up all over the place?
Oh, good question. Okay. I don't know if this answers the question of portables. And if I'm being honest, I really, really don't like kids in portables. Unfortunately, at times we have to utilize them. But when you see space available, that's what we're trying to define here. And there is adequate space in every campus. Remember, for 14 years, we've had a declining enrollment. And if you study that, you graduate 700 kids and you enroll 500. That's what's happened. No one's done anything wrong. But if we continue in that pattern, what I'm cautioning you is somewhere in the future, there's a problem. It's like when your personal finances, and you know in a year or 2 years, something's going to change in my personal finances. I'm going to have less money coming in. I have to plan for that. Now, I would ask, and I would share, what are the repercussions for the district if we don't plan? What happens if we don't plan ahead? So let me share with you how a budget gets built. We typically, usually I think I saw Ms. Martinez. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Ms. Martinez. About November, December, we'll get a planning unit value. Is that correct?
Yes, so before we do the budget, yes, so when we are working on the budget for this fiscal year, sometime in April, we receive a preliminary unit value.
Oh, April.
And then in January of 2026, we'll get our final unit value, and that's just how it cycles.
Okay, so think about that. So as we're planning a budget, we'll get a number that says this is what we think your unit value will be. And then the legislative session occurs, they set the initial unit value, and that's how our budget gets built. Okay, they come back later, typically in the year, and say, oh, here's your final unit value. It's kind of nice because usually it's a little extra money that we didn't plan for. Okay, but it didn't always happen that way. But April is when I know my unit value. If in April I realize my unit value didn't give me enough, I now have to make different decisions. And I guarantee these decisions will be based on staffing. And that's called a RIF, a reduction in force. Those are teachers, those are principals, those are custodians, those are student nutrition, that I will then, it's based on seniority, and there'll be a decision made of X number of of staff will not be returning next year. I do not want to ever go through a RIF. Let me explain to you as parents why you don't ever want to go through a RIF. As I've seen a couple districts go through this, what happens, and you can't blame the staff, they panic. They may or may not have a job. And so they're terrified that they're not. And their focus is no longer on kids. They're focused on making sure I have a job. I want to do my job so they can remain focused on your kids. That's a servant leadership model, right? Where if I do my job, take care of teachers, teachers do their job, they take care of kids.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
This weekend, I spoke to some of the Berino parents that their kids go to Vado because of the boundaries. I spoke to two parents, one on Saturday, one this morning, as a matter of fact. The one I spoke to on Saturday told me that she said there was 27 kids in that class. I don't know if that's true, but she said they have 27 kids, they have one IA, and this is fourth grade, one IA, and they share that IA. There's another class that shares it. And then this morning I had a parent, I spoke to her, she was waiting for her daughter to get picked up. She said the same thing, there's 21 in her classroom, fourth grade, and she says, how are they going to bring Berino students here if we're already like 21-1 ratio. What educations are our kids going to get there? So I was going to ask you if maybe you can find out for sure what the ratio is in Vado on the students.
Sure. I
And one more, is there room to open other classrooms there in case you need to add on these other kids?
So what I would respond to is Vado has room for 157 more students.
So why are they right now, why are they over 21 or 20?
Well,
Sorry.
here's what I would say. I would have to look at those, and they could
Yes.
be. That's pretty rare in Gadsden.
Okay,
So I see Ms. Burciaga there in the back. If you're not aware, Ms. Burciaga is our associate superintendent, which I forgot to introduce Ms. Martinez, who gave us some information. Ms. Martinez is our CFO. She takes care of the budget. And then Ms. Burciaga takes care of human resources. Ms. Burciaga, go ahead, Ms. Burciaga. You can share.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So actually, Vado Elementary is overstaffed. They have right now availability to lose 2 teachers and 3 IAs. However, it also depends on the grade. And it could be that they have just enough students to be 1 classroom, not enough to make 2 classrooms. And that's what happens. It is administrator decision to be able to separate and move teachers around, but I can confirm that they are overstaffed at this moment. And then remind you, we're not just having their staff. If it comes to the board's decision that a consolidation will take place, we are moving additional staff. We have consolidated 2 schools in the past, and our schools that have consolidated to are still minimal. 14 average of per pupil ratio. Can you hear me? I'm sorry. The average of per pupil ratio in our district right now is 14 kids to 1 teacher. By law, what is accepted at grade level, kinder 20, 1st through 3rd grade 23, 4th through 5th grade 25, and then secondary 160 students a day per teacher. So we are well below the capacity required by the state. Does anybody have any questions? And then it's an average. So if we have a classroom in 5th grade that has 27 kids, it's an average of all the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. They have to be more than 25 each. So when you take that, some of those classrooms have 12, some of those classrooms have 14, and then yes, we do have 1 classroom that has 25, I believe. That averages out well below the ratio.
Thank you, Ms. Burciaga.
Yes.
Other questions?
This way. Mr. Dempsey, when students are shuffled around, they can struggle to find consistency in their education. In Berino, we have already shuffled half of Berino to Vado, and now we're getting ready to shuffle the other half students to other schools. How does this affect our education of our children? We should all be concerned about that too.
Sure.
You know, even with adults, when you have to make a change in your everyday life, it affects you as an adult. Now take a look at the children, how it affects them. We need to take the children into consideration. Now, with the way the structure is growing here, with the family units coming in, Vado is expanding, Berino is expanding. We are waiting for 114 lots to come into effect at Berino. So once those lots are sold, are we going to shuffle kids back? Have we thought about that? How would we handle that situation? Another question that I have too, while I got this, why are we not hearing from educators? It would be great to hear from the educators what their opinion is on shuffling these students back and forth.
Okay, so let me and help me remember those questions. So first of all, let me share with you, the most growth in Gadsden Independent School District has happened in Chaparral and Santa Teresa. There's been more building and construction and growth in those 2 areas, and they've resulted in minimal student enrollment. Again, birth rate. You got to back up to the birth rate. Families may be moving in, But instead of having 4 kids, they have 2 or none. And so that's the pattern we're seeing. There's nothing in the data that suggests we're going to see an increase in enrollment. Okay? So just keep that in mind as we're making these decisions. What was the other question? Oh, the impact on students. Here's how I would, got you, and educators. Okay, so here's how I would respond to that question about students. I get it. Change is hard, right? What I know about students, because we've done it at Southern Park and Mesquite, students are pretty resilient. They really, in general, do pretty well. As adults, we sometimes don't like change. That seems to be sometimes the biggest issue. But here's how I would respond to that. Is if I don't pay attention to the budget, I'm not taking care of your kids. I'm actually setting your kids up for failure. Because what's going to happen is programs, the quality programs we have, are going to start reducing because I can't staff them. So like Mesquite, I probably, if I'm being honest, I probably hung on 2 years too long. By the time we consolidated, they had a part-time assistant principal, a part-time nurse, a part-time instructional coach. That's very limited support that they have. Right? So those are factors that you have to consider in this. Okay? That I believe if I take care of the budget, I keep the quality program in place. Maybe at a different location, but you maintain the quality of the program. And teachers. Well, here's how I might, or staff. Let's just say staff, because it takes all of us. I've always operated as a team, it takes all of us. This isn't all of us conversation. This is not just a Berino staff conversation, because this decision as a budget impacts every employee, all 1,900 in this district. And so we could do a survey if that's what we want to do. I'm going to caution you with that. Well, it could be a red flag because you have a much smaller, I mean, how many staffs here? 40? 45? 40, 45? And 1,900 other employees? I can tell you probably what the result's going to look like before we even put it out. I saw a hand back here earlier.
Buenos días. Mis comentarios van más bien hacia seguridad. Aquí cerquita nosotros tenemos el departamento de bomberos y el departamento de policías. Las otras áreas, como North Valley y Vado, están más alejadas. Sí hay, pero no están tan cercas como aquí. Número 2. Probablemente no son mis hijos los únicos que se marean cuando salgo con ellos en el carro. En el bus es más. Les voy a dar una pastilla todos los días. A largo plazo eso les va a afectar en su salud. Y número 3, hace unos meses usted dijo que estaba apoyando a las familias en respecto al tema de migración. Si ahora ellos van a manejar por alguna emergencia, es ponerlos a ellos también en riesgo. Porque sí, tal vez redes sociales no son algo seguro de creer, pero a veces ahí se pone, hay migración en la tienda de Berino, hay migración en esta calle, tengan cuidado. Las familias, ¿cómo van a salir a recoger a sus hijos si hay una emergencia? Y número, ¿qué es? 4. Espero no ofenderlo y se lo digo con mucho respeto, pero usted ya va a salir cuando realmente lleguen los problemas de esta decisión. ¿Quién va a resolver? Porque usted ya no va a estar y la persona que llegue a cargo va a decir, no, yo no fui. Entonces nosotras las familias somos las que nos vamos a quedar con todo esto.
That was very nice. I'm going to clap for you too. And thank you. You have been incredibly respectful to me, and I so appreciate you come to coffee with the superintendent, coffee with the principal all the time. Thank you so much. Thank you. And Equity Council. and have helped me understand some pieces. So, safety. Safety is a factor that we all worry about. It's one of the factors that, if I'm being really honest, keep me up at night. I don't know how to solve some of this, if I'm being honest with you. I do think that security is important. And I think I've emphasized that. I'm talking to you about budget. And if you don't know about the security budget, we've done everything we can to increase the personnel in security. And the good news is, if you reduce the number of campuses you have, you're more than likely to get a security guard at every campus. So we're moving towards the direction. Personally, what would I want? If it was in my perfect world, I would want a nurse, which we have, a counselor, which we have, a social worker, which we don't have, and an armed security guard at every single campus in every school in the United States, if I'm being honest. If we really prioritize what I think are the most important individuals, our kids, that's what we would do as a state and as a nation. That's kind of a no-brainer. If you're safer at Walmart than you are at school, I think there's a problem. But the other side of that, the immigration piece, I tell you, what an interesting time in which we're living in. I understand it's difficult. I've had families come by my office this summer and tell me they were self-deporting because they were so afraid to be broken up. And it was heart-wrenching. And unfortunately, what I can say is that I can control what I can control. And I'm going to do my very best to serve the communities here. Somebody said this to me. In fact, there's a previous board member who said this to me, and I will take it forever. An educated world's a better world. I don't care who comes through that door. I don't care what language you speak. I don't care your ethnicity. I don't care. I just want to teach you to read and do math and put you in a safe environment. And again, an educated world's a better world. And I'm going to live by that, right? The conversation about me personally, trust me when I tell you my days are numbered. And it would be much easier for me to be at my office doing something else, not standing here in front of you. I will not take the coward's route. I will look you in the eye and give you the recommendation of what I think needs to happen. And this is what I think needs to happen. Other questions?
The kids get dizzy in the bus.
Oh, the kids get dizzy in the bus. I hadn't heard this. Like motion sickness? Okay.
So she would have to give the appeal every day. Every day is still that one.
Gotcha. I don't have a solution for that one. That's yeah, we need the nurse. Yes, ma'am.
Buenos días.
I don't know what's happening here.
Oh, she says that it's not motion sickness, that the kids get anxious being on the bus.
Oh, hang
So
on.
that
Okay.
is anxiety.
What she said in the microphone.
He did not hear what she said.
Yeah, said kids have anxiety.
So the student does not get motion sickness, it's anxiety.
Anxiety. Okay. We can talk about that in just a second, but let's get this question.
Buenos días.
Good morning.
Yo nomás tengo una pregunta sobre la transportación. Como hay muchas personas que a veces no tienen carro, no hay muchas pues viejitos que a veces los abuelos son los que cuidan a los nietos. Entonces, si se les pasa el bus, ¿cómo los van a llevar? Si así yo que vivo cerca llego tarde, imagínense que nos muevan hasta otra escuela. Mis hijos se van a quedar sin ir a la escuela.
Okay. Rural community, without a doubt, transportation is always going to be a factor. And I always chuckle a little bit when I hear somebody bring a model to us that says, oh, this works so well in Las Cruces and in Santa Fe and Albuquerque. And then pretty quickly, myself or the leadership says, hang on a minute, what about transportation? Right? And it's always going to be a factor. Here's the reality. We've got to be willing to make adjustments to transportation. Right? and we're going to have to. Keep in mind, the money the state gives us for transportation every year for the last 3 years, Nadeem, check me here, for about the last 3 years, is about $1 million short. So I have to supplement the transportation budget by about $1 million of operational to keep it afloat. And I have asked, and asked for actually longer than 8 years, because my previous district was Cloudcroft, for the state to fund transportation adequately so I don't have to take $1 million out of the operational that should be used for classrooms and put it into transportation. They've yet to do that. I saw hands, but I got lost.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Dempsey.
Good morning.
So I am a mother of 5. 3 of those are
Yay!
GISD
Sorry.
kids. My oldest is an 8th grader. I have a 5th grader and a 2nd grader. They all wrote letters for you, but I want to specifically talk about my 2nd grader now that the parents are bringing up the bus and the transportation. My 2nd grader has life-threatening health issues, and I won't go too far into it, but if she is moved to Vado or to North Valley and she needs an ambulance to get there, what happens if the ambulance doesn't get there on time?
Sure.
She also does not ride the bus because we live in Berino where she's supposed to be going to Vado. So I drive them to school every day. And she gets dizzy. So she can't ride the bus. I have to take her. So, like I said, I have 2 younger children, 3 and 1. My mother and my father help me with them when I have to transport my other kids to school. So my biggest issue is, what happens to my 7-year-old if she gets sick and doesn't make it, the ambulance doesn't make it on time? Or I don't make it on time because I live in Berino.
Right. And reasonable question, here's what I'll share with you. Think about Yucca Heights. Think of the school. Have you ever been out to Yucca Heights? You have any idea how long it takes to get an ambulance out to Yucca Heights? Though, and I appreciate the question. I think it's a reasonable question. I actually think you're asking the wrong person. There should be ambulance service and a police substation at Chaparral. There should probably be more here on this side. That's the county. So, in my opinion, the county is the person you take that beef up.
Well, yes, that is true. But for right now, she's here in Berino, and literally right down the road is a fire department.
Mm-hmm.
And so
right.
It's safer here for her.
Right. I understand that. But what I'm trying to get you to understand is some of these numbers, somewhere budget-wise, we're going to have to close the school.
So my child is just a number then? Her health, her safety is not a concern?
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
I do.
She could go to Gadsden Elementary, which is very close to a fire station.
How close is it? Is it closer than Berino?
Yeah.
Because as I said,
Right.
she literally has a life-threatening,
Sure.
that if something happens to her, she needs to be in that ambulance as
Right.
soon as possible.
So let's just say, and I don't want to get too far into it, but let's just say we have a student who has a severe allergic reaction to peanut butter or nuts, and that can be severe.
Mm-hmm.
What is the plan going to be when she goes to Gadsden Middle School or Gadsden High School? So there's transition in kids' lives. That allergic reaction or that life-threatening thing is probably not going to go away. We've got to figure those things out, and they're coming. So either way, we're going to go through transitions. As kids grow, as kids change, we're going to go through those transitions. We got to be ready for them. Other questions?
Buenos días, Mr. Dempsey. Mi nombre es Eva. Hablando de la escuela de Gadsden. Esta escuela es completamente bilingüe. Tiene el programa de Dual. Gadsden no es participante en el programa de Dual. Mi pregunta es, ya que hagan las nuevas zonas escolares para cada escuela, A mis niños probablemente les va a tocar ir a Gadsden. Ellos han estado en el programa Dual desde prekinder. Por motivos de transportación, ellos no son elegibles para ir a Vado o North Valley. Ellos tienen que ir a Gadsden. Va a poner el programa Dual en Gadsden o no lo va a poner. ¿Cómo van a venir afectando los niños porque no van a estar trabajando en el mismo programa? Ya que el programa de Dual pues es muy costoso porque tienen que entrenar a los maestros. Entiendo que los maestros se van a ir, unos maestros se van a la escuela, pero estamos hablando de una escuela que está completamente bilingüe. Es un gran cambio para los niños el estar trabajando 50-50 a ir a trabajar 80-20. ¿Cómo nos va a solucionar eso? Porque hay otros distritos que han venido, específicamente el distrito de Deming, a mirar nuestra escuela por el programa de Dual. Me gustaría saber cómo usted va a ayudar a estos niños que han estado trabajando sus dos lenguajes desde chiquitos.
Okay. Thank you for the question. I think Rosie has helped me understand. So when I talk about, so let me try to answer that question. Will Gadsden Elementary become dual language? Probably not. And let me explain that. Our current model of dual language is expensive. Okay? And I cannot, I'm going the wrong way if I add to my expenses. That's going to take more staffing. And I'm headed the wrong way in budget. But what I could do, just like we did at Sunland Park, is say, because you want your child to remain in dual language, I'll offer those students transportation to Vado, which is already a dual language school. So they can stay in program. So they have the opportunity to stay in program. Okay? Another hand.
Volviendo al programa dual. Si todos los niños deciden seguir en el programa, esto sí va a afectar que las clases estén sobrepobladas, quieran verlo de una forma o no, porque se ha hablado también en las juntas que quieren ofrecerles para que salgan con el sello de graduándose con el sello bilingüe. Pero si ahorita a los niños se les quita, ellos van a perder el interés. Y ya cuando están en la adolescencia, uno como padre lo que quiere es que se gradúe. Pero también desde chiquitos ellos han empezado con este programa porque nosotros como cultura queremos que se puedan comunicar con nuestra familia. Entonces, ¿cómo les vamos a quitar eso a nuestros hijos? Le estamos quitando una oportunidad de que se puedan comunicar. Les estamos cerrando puertas. Les estamos quitando la oportunidad de expresarse mejor. Entonces, ¿cómo van a querer no mover el programa? Yo entiendo que quieren ahorrarse dinero, pero ¿a qué costo? ¿A costo de la seguridad de nuestros hijos? ¿A costo de una educación baja? Creo que eso no es justo.
Okay, let's talk about those bilingual SEALs. And thank you for those questions. So if you go back 10 years, Gadsden, at the time, before we consolidated, I believe it, and Mr. Araujo checked me on these numbers, I think when I got here, we had 16 elementaries. Half of them were dual language. Okay? And once you got out of 6th grade, there was no dual language track. Correct? Today, we have 14 elementaries. 10 of them are dual language. And we have a K-12 dual language track that goes through Gadsden High School. And this year's seniors are your first students in Gadsden that have gone K-12 dual language. Something really to be proud of. And
You also have dual language at
Go ahead.
We also have dual language at Santa Teresa Middle. We started a couple of years ago, and we started
two pathways at Santa Teresa High School with the business and translation and interpretation pathway for the students. And it is our first year at Chaparral Middle, so we are starting dual language there in 7th grade.
So what I want you to understand is, under my tenure, we've more than doubled the number of bilingual classrooms. We've more than doubled the number of bilingual seals that students receive in Gadsden. And we have created a K-12 track for the Gadsden feeder pattern, and well on its way. And trust me, Ms. Dedizona stays, she's, what's the right word? She is aggressive, to say the least, to make sure our students are served and served very well. And I like that about her. I appreciate it. I'm going to come back to something that was said earlier, though, about graduations. The ultimate goal is graduation. There's no question. Graduation with an ability to take the next step and be successful. Right? If we're graduating kids and they're not ready for the next step, we're really not necessarily accomplishing a whole lot. We want to make sure they're ready. Our proficiency rates are higher than they've ever been. Our graduation rates, I believe this year, for the 3rd year in a row, we will post the highest graduation rate in district history. Almost more than 10 points higher than the state average. Academically, your kids are sailing. Our teachers are doing their job. What I'm trying to get you to understand is this budget drives all of that. And it is very critical that we watch and have a plan. I put together a list of my recommendations. Someone else may have a different set of recommendations, okay? And that's okay. But if we ignore the entire list, we're setting ourselves up for a big issue down the road. Okay.
Over here.
I think I had another question.
Good morning. No question, just a comment. My name is Martina. I have 3 of my 4 children attended Berino Elementary, and my youngest just graduated high school. He's studying business administration out of town. He was in the dual language, to follow up on somebody who spoke about that. His Spanish is just excellent because of the dual language. Now, I don't know, somehow, some children, some Hispanic children get the idea that Spanish is not good. So I am so thankful for him to have had dual language in this school. Now, it took me 5 minutes to get to the school. I walked. And I don't have any more children here in Berino Elementary, but I would be very willing to vote to increase our property taxes or even a bond to address any issues on this old building, because I think that small classrooms is where children thrive, and children need to be important to a zip code at 88024 as it is in other affluent zip codes. And I just think we've been talking a lot about finances. I think first we need to listen to parents' needs, the children's needs, and what educators have to say about that, then find the money if this school needs to remain open. Like I said, I don't have any more children here at Berino Elementary, but I, of course, would be willing to have whatever increase in property taxes or bond election so that this school can remain open, because I do not see numbers. I see children thriving, and we deserve our children to be in small classrooms.
So let's talk real quick about New Mexico. So bonding in New Mexico, I cannot use bond dollars in any way, shape, or form for salary. That's your expense. That's your year-over-year expense. 90% of your operational budget is salary and benefits. So there's no mechanism in New Mexico like Texas that allows for that. Okay, so that doesn't exist in New Mexico, unfortunately. And so I just want to make sure everybody understands those pieces, because sometimes we watch what happens across our border and we try to make those connections. That's doesn't always work across those borders. I had a thought and then I lost it, so I apologize. So another question.
Okay, I have one more. This is my last one, okay? You're talking about money, in order to save money.
Yep.
That's why we're gonna consolidate. Okay. You wanna you said maybe Anthony and Loma Linda will consolidate. And I say, okay, fine. They're all going together. All these children will move to the next school together. None of them will get separated. They're not gonna say, oh, I'm not gonna see my friend, or whatever. I said, okay, fine. What was it? Sunland, you had the same thing. You consolidated, right? But you consolidated within Sunland. They stayed in Sunland. Right here, you're consolidating and you're moving kids to Vado, kids to North Valley, and kids to Gadsden. Okay. I mean, that's going to be hard on them if you do. My question is, saving money, you're going to bring early college here, which is fine. And then I do believe you said at the high school that you would probably have trainings here. So the teachers at North Valley and all them won't have to drive all the way to Santa Teresa, right? Okay. But yet, I see all the updates you're doing to Berino. If you go outside, if you go into our classrooms, you see TVs in our classrooms. We never had that back then when I was here. And not as a student, as an IA, sorry, we're not gonna go back that far. You're making shades for these playgrounds out here. The people out there, I went to speak to them today, and they told me what they were doing. Mm-hmm. That's money too.
Sure.
And then Boone is going to charge you to take our kids from Berino, from Tierra del Sol, where isn't that gonna cost you money also?
Sure.
That's my question. I mean, we're talking about money, but yet we're spending money.
Sure.
And we're spending it to keep this place, this school, our home. This is our home. Berino is our home. Mm-hmm. To keep it open. And like she says, my kids do not come here anymore. My kids came here. They graduated Gadsden and everything. I have my grandkids here now. It's like for me, it's a tradition. My children, my grandchildren, I pray that one day my great-grandchildren come here. And it's an awesome school, and it's beautiful. If you walk around the school, it doesn't even look like it's 30-some years old? 23 or whatever. It doesn't look old. It's been well kept. You have done a great job by, fixing everything up and giving money, so it's beautiful. I'm sorry, but this is for our kids. It's not for me. It's not grandparents, like she said. A lot of grandparents are bringing up their children, and they're bringing them to school. And I'm sure it's just not Berino. I'm sure it's all over the district. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. I don't think there's a question here, is there? Yes, ma'am.
Otra vez, buenos días. Esta es mi última. Así como ella dijo, yo aquí estudié segundo grado, tengo 29 años y esta escuela ha estado, pues como yo me la imagino, como yo venía aquí a esta escuela. Entonces, aquí hay muchas mamás, hay 262 estudiantes, si no me equivoco. Cada uno tiene $20 para apoyar a la escuela. Entonces serían el total de 5,240 por 12 serían 62,880 al año. $20, yo digo que todos los de aquí pueden aportar $20. $20 nos lo gastamos en McDonald's, en uñas, en otras cosas. ¿Por qué no apoyar para que no cierren la escuela? Porque si para no cerrarla tengo que apoyar $20, yo estoy dispuesta a apoyar $20 por mes. Entonces, ustedes no quieren nuestra ayuda porque he hablado con voluntarias que ustedes no pueden aceptar dinero. Entonces ya ni el viernes ya no nos quisieron aceptar dólares cuando los niños vienen sin uniforme, que tenemos que hacerlo en línea y eso es muy complicado. O sea, si ustedes quieren nuestra ayuda, pues, o sea, ustedes no quieren nuestra ayuda. ¿Sí sabe cómo? ¿Eh?
Okay, let's talk about, and my gosh, I get it. As a community, and I shared this last week, my wife and I are from a very small community. And so I get the passion. My grandfather graduated from the same school I graduated from. My mom graduated from school I went to elementary at. My wife's whole family graduated from Mountaineer High School, every single one of them. And so I get the passion. We got to wrap our brain around some of these numbers. And when I put numbers up, I'm not trying to offend anybody, but they are facts. So what you need to understand is over the course of the last 10 years, the one thing I would suggest our legislature has done a fabulous job of is increasing teacher salaries. That's been great because now I'm not just I can lure teachers out of neighboring states and get them to come in. Right? So with benefits, it's an average number, one teacher with benefits costs me about $100,000 a year. One teacher costs me $100,000 a year. What do 10 teachers cost me? Somebody say it. $1 million. There's 40 teachers here. You realize the number I'm trying to get to? That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. Is this number is going to be big. And if we don't start taking precautionary steps towards it, it's going to happen fast. Those hands came up fast. They were racing. Oh, okay. I'll come back to that. Let's get those questions. Because those hands came up fast immediately.
Yo tengo otra pregunta. Berino le presta aquí la escuela a Head Start y ellos mismos le prestan la cafetería para que ellos coman. Vista College les va a prestar la misma cafetería para que vengan. Los van a invitar también a que les tomen las fotos cuando se las toman como para el día de Navidad y todo eso. ¿Dónde va a quedar también ellos sus actividades? Y va a ser aquí un colegio. ¿Van a quitar también el playground y todo eso? Ahora, a usted nada más, con todo respeto, a usted le importa nada más lo financiero y a nosotros nos importan nuestros niños. Se ha preguntado en Chaparral, hay nada más una elementary. Si pasara lo mismo, que hubiera poquitos estudiantes, ¿a dónde van a ir? ¿Los van a mandar también para acá con nosotros, al Montonadero?
Okay. So I think there's 5 elementaries in Chaparral, by the way. So just keep that in mind. I would argue, from my perspective, if you don't take care of the budget, you're not taking care of kids. You're setting students up and families for big change, quick. So from my perspective as superintendent, taking care of kids means taking care of the budget. Okay, there were other questions in there, though. I got lost in it. Oh, wait, there was a pre-K question. Can Head Start continue to use? Yeah, as long as we're using this building, of course, Head Start can continue. We have good partnerships. Pre-K classrooms in Gadsden have more than doubled in my time here, okay? Pre-K is a different funding stream. You just have to understand that pre-K is funded from a totally different, they have their own department and their own rules that kind of sometimes make me want to scream a little bit, but that's a separate funding tool mechanism. Did I miss anything in there?
No.
Okay, other question.
Mi pregunta es, ¿por qué es Berino? Si vemos los números que nos está dando ahorita, tenemos mayor capacidad para estudiantes. ¿Por qué no cerrar una escuela que tenga menos capacidad para estudiantes? Digamos, no podemos predecir el futuro. En dado caso que vengan más estudiantes, ¿los va a mandar a amontonar a las escuelas que tienen menos capacidad de estudiantes? Ahora, quiere traer a los de Altavista para acá. Ellos solo son 200 estudiantes. Es el cupo que nosotros tenemos. En este caso, usted quiere separar a los niños a 3 diferentes escuelas cuando hay capacidad de una escuela que se vengan salones enteros sin tener que separar a los niños. Los niños tienen mucha voz y voto. A mí mis niños me dicen, mamá, nos están viendo como números, no nos están viendo como estudiantes. Ellos no están tomando en cuenta cómo nosotros nos estamos sintiendo. Yo tengo 3 niños y me dicen, mamá, platica con los amigos, con las mamás de mis amigos para que nos pongan juntos. Yo no puedo tener a mis hijos regados en una escuela y en la otra, con tal de que ellos sigan con sus amistades que han estado creciendo. Y yo mi pregunta es, ¿por qué no cerrar una escuela que tiene menos capacidad para los niños y dejar la escuela que tiene más capacidad para los estudiantes? Porque los está mandando a las dos escuelas donde hay menos capacidad. Esta es una escuela grande y nosotros tenemos espacio para que vengan más estudiantes para acá.
Okay. Excuse me. Why Berino? Can you take me back? You have the least number of students in the district. That's why. You have the smallest school in this feeder pattern. Okay? So in my eyes, I'm disrupting the fewest number of families. Okay? What did I miss in that?
The oldest building from the first.
Well, and I was corrected. I've made a statement that this is the oldest building. Anthony, portions, small portions, in fact, somebody told me like 2 or 3 walls of Anthony Elementary are older, but a significant renovation was done in 2010. Okay, and that expanded that campus significantly. Okay, question?
Yes. Okay, so I have a couple of questions. Sorry.
Okay.
And I do apologize. I did come late, so maybe they're repetitive. But is this like for sure that you are going to close Berino, or it's still up in the air?
Okay, so the way this works is I make a list of recommendations. I've been asked to create a list of recommendations. I'm presenting those to the board. The governing board makes those decisions.
Okay, so right now, for sure, it's not in set.
Right now, it's for sure I'm recommending it.
No, that you're recommending it,
Yes,
but it's
ma'am.
not for sure, like, it's
No.
already been approved. Okay. So if this does occur, have you, like, are the boundary lines gonna stay the same? Like Berino Road, that way goes to Vado, Berino
No.
Road this way?
So you have to rework all attendance zones.
Do
You have
you
to
have
rework
something
all of
where
those.
you could show us?
Because
No?
you do the consolidation first, then
You do
you
that.
do the attendance zones.
Okay.
Okay?
Another one of my questions is, so you said that you're gonna have to move your teachers and all that, which is understandable in a consolidation, right? So do you know or have an idea yet, or you have to wait until the consolidation to see where you're gonna move these teachers, nurses, counselors, and all that?
Well, here's how I would respond to that. And I'm not trying to offend any adults, right? But at the end of the day, it's about kids' needs. So wherever the kids' needs are, that's where the adults get to go. And you have to accept that as an employee.
Okay. And then, well, my understanding is we're also consolidating because of the budget. So does that mean in your recommendations, you know, the security guards there's gonna be more? I did hear you mention something about that, but does that mean more security guards? The nurses, I honestly don't know, so sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but the nurses, what are they certified for and all that? Because like her, that she has a daughter that's, you know, she's got emergencies and stuff. Are these nurses certified for things like that? Like basically what I'm asking is, it sounds like this change may happen anyway, so what exactly is gonna be offered to us as parents for help and all that? On that aspect, you know, more security guards because there's more students, more parents, because like we have here for Christmas, for any programs, it gets full as it is. So I just can't imagine how the other schools are. So that's my concern too, is the safety.
Sure. So let me clarify in security. What I tried to emphasize is we've added security positions, and if we reduce campuses, we get closer to the opportunity of a security guard on every campus. I can't tell you right now what the budget's going to allow next year. Another factor that you have to understand is federal programs. So we receive several forms of federal dollars. This current year, from Title I, Ms. Villalobos manages our federal programs. Title I operational absorbed 18 FTEs. That's 18 positions moved over from Title I because Title I is reducing. Title III, we moved, Nubia, help me here. 3 positions? Title III? 2. I moved 2 positions. Do you have any FTEs in your Title III? No, sir. No positions. Why? because those budgets are reducing. I don't want to wait and get to a point that I have no money and then I can't fund that person. So we've moved those to operational. That's an additional pressure that's on your operational budget. And I anticipate federal dollars continuing to reduce over the next several years. I saw some hands. Okay, and then you're next.
Hi, sorry.
Hi.
So what she mentioned about the capacity, as it is, when we have presentations here in Berino, we are limited to sometimes have 2 parents come in. I have 2 children, and my ex-husband, well, we're separated. I'm recently married, and he has his spouse. So whenever they have a presentation or something, there's 2 people allowed. If you send them to another school, there's going to be more students. So how is that going to work? Is it going to be only 1 parent and the other one is going to be holding off to see what the other parent sends them because we don't have enough space? Also, I was also going to say, so my kids have been here since they were little. They started in the program that was for NMSU. Now, one of them is already in high school. The other one's still here. But everything's a lot easier for us, and we try to volunteer as much as possible to help out. What can us as parents do to prevent this? What is it that is needed for us to be able to help the school stay?
Here's a couple of questions in there. What was the first one? Oh, well, let me share that with you. So think of the other schools that were consolidated a couple years ago. North Valley, Vado were impacted, Riverside, and Desert View. And guess what today? They're still doing the same things. Every school, like Thanksgiving, it's a limited number, okay? Some events, they're a limited number. It's going to be the same. I don't see it reducing to 1. That seems unrealistic. And you know, at some level, if these things get bigger, I've seen some campus, I think it's more of middle schools, that sometimes use our high school campuses for specific events, right? Then they can involve more people. But I appreciate the participation. But I don't see that being a major issue. What can parents do? Well, you're here, and that says a lot. And you continue to advocate what you believe in. What I'll assure you is, I'm going to do the same. And I believe that if we don't take care of the budget, we're not taking care of kids. And I'm just cautioning you, saying next year or the following year, you may have a budget issue if you don't make some serious decisions. I hope I'm wrong. Okay, but I don't think I am. I had a conversation this morning with one of the senior analyst for Legislative Finance Council, LFC. And I told him, from what I've seen in the state budget, I would maybe estimate maybe a 2 or a 3% increase in unit value. And he said, yeah, that's probably no more than 4. Don't even think more than 4. It's going to be tough to continue with the type of spending, absorbing federal program FTEs, insurance increases. Those factors are going to get harder and harder to balance this budget. And I have to balance the budget. There's no way around that. Or whoever the superintendent is has to balance that budget. Oh yeah, you were next. I'm sorry.
Sorry, that was a question I was going to ask and you just answered it for me. But the second one was in regards to safety, like the concern that the all moms have, but me having a split child.
Sure.
How do we secure the kids and prevent whatever happened in Chaparral? Because, I mean, it's a big worry for me having to move again and worry that they have AIDS that happened. What happened in Chaparral, the accident that happened with the sped kid? Like, how do we prevent those accidents?
Well, at the end of the day, what I know after doing this, I've been a superintendent since 2012, an administrator since 2006, and a teacher before that. You're only as good as your people, right? And you know, we get 1,900 employees, and sometimes people don't perform the way you want them to. We try very hard. I think our leadership team works incredibly hard, and I mentioned this earlier, to stay in what I would call a servant leadership model. I'm doing everything I can to support teachers and IAs and staff, training them, making sure they're paid well, keeping them in place, keeping them happy as best I can, right? Because if they're happy, likely they create an environment that your children are in and they're going to take care of your kids. If that gets out of whack in any way, shape, or form, trust me, and I've been in those environments, it's the focus is usually not on learning. The focus in my time here has been on learning. And you can see the result. And I want to stay in that path. I'm sorry.
Tengo otra pregunta. Como dice que al staff se los va a llevar para Gadsden, entonces, ¿cuál es el propósito de cerrar Berino si de todos modos el staff se los va a llevar y les van a estar pagando igual?
Closing Berino.
Porque estaba oyendo que también quieren darles unemployment, $8,000 que para que se retiren.
This is actually a great question. So, here's what I would tell you, and this happened during our previous consolidations. What happens is, and Ms. Burciaga mentioned it, Vado is a little overstaffed. And if you start this process early, over time, you'll have people retire, and that's called attrition, and you don't fill those positions. And so you give yourself about a 2-year window that as people retire, you gradually say, oh, I really don't need that position. I put that person in it. And you're a little overstaffed. Okay? If you don't start this early enough, you won't have the opportunity to do that. So that's why it's important to start early on it. Well, there's a question about the $8,000 for retirement. That decision was tabled at a recent board meeting. Why? So the question was why? Let me explain that a little bit. So the reason why I'm trying to use that as a planning tool for budget. So if we have employees, and 1,900 employees, you have people retire pretty regularly. And but usually they don't submit their retirement till late spring. I'm asking them submit it early. Submit it in December so that I can use it to plan. Okay? Now I want you to think about the money involved in this. We said, in general, 77 certified people. Okay, 77. Each one of those cost me about $100,000 each. 44 non-cert, and I don't know about half that probably. 3 maybe non-certs, about half that.
Right.
About 50,000?
Are you talking about certified?
Non-certified. I said certified cost me about 100,000 in general. Non-cert, half that?
Yes.
Okay. So think about those dollars. If I had, and these numbers sound big for all of us, they sound huge for me, but if I had $1.3 million, that's what we're anticipating if we did the voluntary incentive option, it would cost the district about $1.3 million. And I knew I'm going to get $6.6 million next year in my budget. That's a deal I would do every day and twice on Sundays. I have $1 million and I'm going to get $6. This is the easiest business deal you've ever done. That's what we're trying to create there, because that creates that space for us. Okay? And that's what we're trying to accomplish there. Okay?
Mr. Dempsey, if
Yep.
we can, the comment was made that if all staff are going, then we're still have the same payment and the same cost to the district if all staff are being relocated to the new positions. But what I think is important is when we close a campus, right, when we consolidate, which we have done, we then save on all the supporting staff, not just the teachers. So Mr. Dempsey mentioned that Berino has 45 employees. not all those 45 are in the classroom. You have the principal, the assistant principal, a music teacher, an art teacher, right? And so we take those and we place them in the retired positions, right? So the principal here would possibly fill the position of a retired principal. And so it saves us about half the salaries when we consolidate a school.
And an example of that is, remember, we talked just for briefly, and I don't want to get us off track, but again, Loma Linda and Anthony are together at Loma Linda right now. And we absorbed a principalship when we were able to do that. That's an admin salary. Okay. That's an example. Okay. Other questions?
Thank you. Mr. Dempsey, you say that the reason why Berino's closing is because we don't have enough students, correct? Okay. But in the Berino community, there are more than enough students that could keep the school open. My understanding is, why did we take from Berino and move them to Vado? Why did we take from Berino and move them to Gadsden? Why do we keep picking out of Berino to put them elsewhere when there's a school here? You also say Berino is an old school. I don't understand why that keeps bringing up. What is important? Why do you keep saying Berino's an old school?
Okay.
If it's so old, then why is Alta Vista coming here?
Okay, so let me try to answer those. So, and this is before, you're going to have to back up when Gadsden was in a big growth phase, right? So 20, 30 years ago, major growth across the valley, right? And so you had to build schools. Now you're on the other side of that. Okay, so you got to utilize the facilities that you have. Okay? So probably when that attendance zone was set for Vado, they needed students in Vado. And Berino maybe had plenty. I don't know that. I know today where those lines are, and I know what your enrollment is. And if we choose Vado, let's just say somebody convinces us, well, it shouldn't be Berino, it should be Vado. What do you think is going to happen with the Vado community? We're going to do this. Right? Because nobody wants this. I don't want this. But it is a reality that we're going to have to face. It's coming. Why move Alta Vista here? Have you been by Alta Vista? That's unacceptable. They need to be in a building. You know, it's the #1 rated high school in Doña Ana County. They deserve a facility. Now, personally, I think they should have been on the facility with NMSU. I couldn't make that happen. I've tried 100 different ways. What they really want me to do is move a bunch of portables to that campus. Not going to do that. What's the point? But that puts them in a brick and mortar facility. And I think those kids deserve that. Other question?
¿Qué va a pasar si se llega a consolidar a Loma Linda y Anthony? ¿Qué va a pasar con Loma Linda? Yo escuché que quiere mover a los de Anthony On Track para allá. Anthony On Track está necesitando ahorita una nueva escuela para moverlos para allá. Cuando yo pienso que es como otra opción para moverlos de Altavista para allá.
Okay, let's talk about those. And I want to bring up a previous slide. I lost Mr. Carmona. He may have stepped out. Can you get Danny, can you get a different, I'm looking for the list, the total list. So let's walk through that. Originally, the plan was to move Alta Vista to Loma Linda, but then, let me, okay. No, it's the one from the board meeting. It's the complete list. Yeah. Let me try to explain why. No. Let me try to get that slide up. The idea originally was to move out to Vista Loma Linda, but we do share staff, which is a savings. So you have Alta Vista, 200 students, Desert Pride, about 200 students, give or take. And that gives us an opportunity to share staff. There's a savings involved in that. Okay? So by them being moved here, you can continue to share staff between the two. So that's one factor. The other factor is Loma Linda as a facility. If you haven't been into Loma Linda, and I know most of you have, but the traffic in and out is difficult with an elementary. Okay? Really tight streets, limited parking. The idea of moving the Anthony Pre-K to Loma Linda is because the age of the facility that the current Pre-K is in. That's a very, it's a pretty old facility. We could pretty easily upgrade Loma Linda to accommodate Pre-K and not have to do a new Pre-K center in Anthony. If you do a new Pre-K center, the match, the one we just did in Riverside that we'll open the door in December, about $3 million. So you're saving, in essence, somewhere around $3 million by not having to put that match up for it. You could adjust Loma Linda with a little work, and it would take a little work, not a lot, and then you move that Pre-K center there. And then where it's currently at, you have to make some decisions, what you want to do with that. Yes, I had another hand, though. Somebody had a hand up. Okay. No, while she's getting that, so this is the slide. So this is what was presented, our right-sizing plan. And so we reviewed the enrollment, which you've done today. We reviewed the campus data for all feeder patterns, not just Gadsden, ST, and Chaparral. Talked about the employee transfers. That's currently happening. If you're not aware, campuses that are overstaffed, Ms. Burciaga and her team, and this started from day one of school, when we see a class, maybe we realize, and I think we have 14 teachers right now. More? No, that's fine. 14. 14 teachers in the district that we would consider they're overstaffed. Now, they have a classroom probably, but if another campus, and we try to make it a neighboring campus, I don't want to put a lot of burden on them, have to drive a lot further, but let's just say a kindergarten class jumps on you in terms of number. It's hard to always estimate the number of kinder. Then we'll move that teacher. And Ms. Bursiga has done that a lot this year. That's very emotional for the staff. And you talk about the needs of kiddos. They've had that teacher for a couple weeks. They're getting into these routines. And now we're going to disperse those students to the other teachers in that school and move that teacher to another group of kids. That's hard. And we haven't always had to do that, but we're having to do it now. And it is a lot. It is heavy. Okay? I talked about the voluntary retirement incentive option, the formal consolidation of Loma Linda. Remember, there are no kindergartners, first graders, second graders, third graders, fourth graders at Anthony Elementary. None. They're all at Loma Linda together. It technically is already done. Okay? And there's really no savings for it because it's already done. Oh, I think you can save up to $6 million in the voluntary retirement option in next year's budget. Spend $1 million, save $6 million. Consideration of a consolidation of bidding. I think next year's budget you could save close to $2 million because you'll have people that say, I'm going to go ahead and retire or I'm going to fill another position. Okay? This transfer of Sunland Park Elementary, if you're not aware, we have a few pre-K classrooms still at Sunland Park. When the Riverside Center is done, we will move those students out of there. We right now maintain it with custodial and minimal facility, and I do not want to have the expense of putting another roof or HVAC unit in there, and there's a likelihood we're going to try to transfer that to the city of Sunland Park. Again, that's a decision the board has to make. Consideration of demo Mesquite Elementary. Now, let me explain demo dollars. I can apply to the state for money that could demo a facility. I don't have to match anything associated with that, nothing. So to me, those are, it's kind of weird to say this, free dollars. because they don't come out of my budget and I don't have to come up with a match. However, more recently, the county has expressed some interest in Mesquite. Now, the problem with that campus, and if you're not aware, major sewer project has got to go into that campus. And I definitely do not want to be the one spending the money on that, okay? The proposal would be move out to Vista to Berino. There's really no savings there. And then relocation of Anthony Pre-K, which I estimate about $3 million. Because we have to, when we do a building project, the district has to come up with a local match, and we wouldn't necessarily have to do that. Okay, I saw some hands.
I have a question and a comment.
Okay.
Number one, will the board have an opportunity to listen to parents and educators' concerns regarding this decision?
Well, you have one
Or will
board
just-
member here, Ms. Guerrero is right here with us. Thank you for
But,
joining us today.
at a board meeting?
I'm taking notes. We do have live stream. I know some other board members are on, but I will be taking your notes everything I'm hearing here will be going into our next board meeting. I also have information, if I have my cards with me, if you guys have any additional information that you'd like to provide that I can present to the board, I can most definitely do that.
Yeah, we'll show the website. If you jump on our website, Mr. Carmona will show you where all board members' contact information is located.
And then, again, just a comment. I don't remember what New Mexico is. I don't know if it's 48th, 49th, or something in education. And I think it starts with decisions like these. And I reiterate, I think small classrooms are where children thrive. And I think it was number 262 for the next year. I think it's now would be a good time to start figuring out how to get the money, because I have not heard, maybe I missed, there are teachers here, educators. I don't know what their recommendations are. Maybe their input would be better for us to listen to and then make a better decision, because what I stated earlier, 262 children, and you mentioned something like $1 million salary. For a lot of people, 262 children deserve $1 million salary for us to invest in. I know, again, I say we're not in an affluent zip code, but our children do deserve the best. And I think we're 40-something in education because of these decisions that we make regarding money and not our children's future.
Thank you for those comments. I guess how I would respond to that, and let's see if we can get the board members. Oh yeah, this is their contact. If you click on their name, can you click on Ms. Guerrero? You will get her contact information. Okay. Here's how it might, and I appreciate the comments. The comment I would make to that is, I believe Gadsden has set the tone for academic excellence in a Title I district. If you're not aware, we outperform affluent communities. Rio Rancho has been here twice trying to figure out what we do academically that they could use. We have districts all the time trying to get into Nubia's office, trying to get Ms. Hernandez. In fact, most of the times they're like, I don't have time for you, right? I would argue if you're not looking at this, then you're not focused on academics. Because how do I hold those quality programs together if I don't pay attention to the budget? You saw it last year in El Paso. They initially said 12 schools had to close. I think they closed 8. The superintendent at the time told me she needed 16 to balance the budget. Isleta ISD did the same exact, that's where I got the idea from, retirement incentive that I'm proposing to balance their budget. And he said it, this will be good for 1 year. Why? Because their enrollment's reducing. You just have to understand the part we can't, what's the solution? We need more babies. And until we get more babies, those budget numbers are not going to jump up significantly, okay? I love hearing you guys that have 4 or 5 kids. Thank you. I'm on my daughters who are married. I'm like, come on, let's get moving, right? But until significant change happens in birth rates, you're going to see this across the entire state, Southwest, the nation. And districts that wait are going to have a harder time doing it. I see a lot of hands.
I know, like I have one back here.
I don't know where you're headed. Okay.
¿Qué pasa si las maestras no quieren retirarse? ¿Los van a obligar? Y en segundo, porque quieren, como dijo ella, siempre dicen que Berino está viejo y viejo, ¿verdad? Entonces, ¿por qué no cierran Gadsden? Porque perderían mucho dinero porque apenas se construyó Gadsden. Además, me parece una mala idea que pongan 6, 7 y 8. Yo tengo una hija de 13 años que él vive con su papá. Entonces, ella va a la escuela de Wakes Middle School. 6, 7 y 8 son una mala influencia porque ahorita estoy batallando con ella porque allá en la escuela que ella está fumando vape. Entonces, mi sobrino es muy inocente. Aquí van a hacer lo mismo 6, 7 y 8. Los 8th graders, o sea, ya están más desarrollados. ¿Sí sabe cómo?
Okay, thank you for those comments. Let me share with you. And from a former middle school math teacher, middle school, you know, if you're not wired for middle school, and I think about, I don't know, my wife was not wired for middle school, let me just say as a parent. And somehow my children survived without her killing them. Middle school's tough, right? And 6th grade can be, 6th, 7th, 8th grade can be tough years. 9th grade can be tough years, right? And so we need really programs tailored to what I think those kids' needs and interests are. I do not believe 6th grade in elementary tailors to those needs. I think elementaries are built for kinder, 1st, 2nd, 3rd. I actually think we'll do a better job of tailoring programs to their needs at our middle school. And we built an entire wing to do it. And if being really honest, the sun is already set. The ship's already sailed on that decision. It's already being built. The investment's made. So 6th graders are going to Gadsden Middle School. So you just got to understand that. Okay? What was the other question in there?
The kid is big. Why we don't close Gadsden Elementary? That was the first thing. And then how we can put the batteries baby.
Okay. Well, and so we probably need to do some additional work with vaping, and we're always going to be fighting this. Okay? We've done some things like in our secondary schools, we have vape sensors in the restrooms so that when that vape sensor goes off, something's going on, it ties to our alarms. Security's headed over there to try to address this, and so we have mechanisms of that nature that we're trying to deter that behavior. If you ask me why not Gadsden Elementary, it's very simple. And I'm not trying to be arrogant. I don't know if it's arrogant. I don't know what the right word is. It's just the number, 306, 374. That represents fewer families I'm going to disrupt their lives.
So earlier you had mentioned that your days are numbered. I wanted to ask, how soon is that? And then do we already know who the next one will be? Are they aware of this? Just kind of want to see who would be the next person after you and how soon. That way maybe they could also be here hearing our concerns.
Sure. Let me try to address that. My current contract ends June 30th, 2026. Okay? The board will have to make a decision at that point who the next superintendent. So at the end of the day, the board makes those decisions. Okay?
My concern is one of my daughters here, she has learning disabilities. And honestly, I find out since she was in 1st grade and I've been at the school letting them know and they really haven't helped me out. So now my concern is if she gets into a bigger school, how is that going to work? If it's going to be the same problem for me, and then now it's going to be even farther for me to drive all the way over there because I live 2 minutes away. So that's my main concern,
Sure.
My child's education.
Right, absolutely. And reasonable question. First of all, if your child has a learning disability, please sit down and talk to your school campus admin. We want to the sooner we intervene, the better, right? So we can get some extra support and help. If you haven't done that, please do so. And Ms. Rodriguez is right here, our special education director, or associate superintendent of special services. I'm sorry. She'd be happy to talk to you about that. I might present the argument that says when we do school consolidations, don't miss the opportunity to be able to open new units. New SPED units might be able to be opened to provide additional support for special needs kiddos. Because I have a larger population, I can staff it better. Now I want to keep in mind that these schools, we lost our schools were built for over 500 students. And we're not even close to those numbers. Okay? So there is more than adequate space in these schools. And remember, staff's going with them. So we're not just going to drop them in somebody's classroom, 200 more kids, without adding staff to it. And Ms. Burciaga shared, in general, on average, and that's an average, we have about 14 students for every teacher.
Can you just reiterate that we will not require people to retire?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. There is no requirement to retire. Here's how I present that. I want to keep great people, and I want to recruit and bring in great people. There is no, the idea of retirement, keep in mind that with 1,900 employees, you always every year have a percent that say, yeah, I'm ready. I've had it, you're right. And so what I'm proposing, like Isleta did, I think 2 years ago or last year, tell me now so I can use it as a planning tool. So tell me early. That's the goal. That's the purpose of it. So that I know now and I know early. Without knowing early, it doesn't help me much. I saw a hand.
Ahorita uno de los padres comentó que sería bueno escuchar de los maestros, de los empleados. ¿Es eso posible?
Help me here.
One of the parents commented that they would like to hear from the parents, if that's possible.
Would I like to hear from parents?
The community would like to hear from the teachers and the staff. If that's possible, there is a 5:30 meeting today.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm confused on what you're asking. Could you come to the 5:30 meeting? Sure.
No, she wants to know if they can hear from the teachers and they want to hear from teachers and staff.
Parents want feedback.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So when you say that, do you want them from just Berino or from the district? Because
From
you
the
got to
district.
understand, a budget decision is about the district. I can tell you right now, and sure, can we invite Berino teachers? Of course we can. We can invite anybody you want. Berino teachers are going to say, I don't want to move. District is going to say, I got to protect my job. Move them. I can tell you right now, that's how that survey is going to come
Sí, a
out.
mí me gustaría escuchar de la perspectiva de todos los maestros, como se ha comentado. Ya se cerraron escuelas en el área de Salon Park, ¿cómo les afectó a ellos? Ya se cerró la escuela de Mezquite, ¿cómo les afectó a ellos?
Ay, mujer, vas bien rápido, ya me
She's fast, right? I can get little pieces, right? How they do the consolidation.
She wants to know, she wants to hear feedback from the teachers from Sun and Park and Mezquite, how it affected them.
Here's what I might propose. In all fairness, because a budget is a district decision. It's not a single school decision. It's a district decision. We could pretty easily design a survey that we send out to all teachers. Now, you tell me if you want all employees. That's another piece of the conversation. I heard somebody say call for all employees. And we could ask in the survey where they're assigned, where they work. And then you could easily tease that out that says, okay, all these people responded from North Valley. All these people responded from Berino. All these responded from Yucca Heights. That actually wouldn't be very difficult to design a survey that would do that. And if that's what you want to do, I need a few days to do this. I need actually a few weeks but you got to understand we're about to go on fall break. And then we'll come back, and probably that would be a time that when we come back, give them about 4 or 5 days. You typically don't want to send a survey out on a Friday and expect results Monday, because people are, they do their weekend thing, right? But if you do it during the week and give it 8 or 10 days, you can usually get a good feel. But what I heard today and what I'm going to take back, and Ms. Guerrero, you're witness to me, district survey. That's what I heard today. Not Berino survey, district survey, which includes Berino, but includes the entire district. And I'll make a prediction. The prediction I make is they'll say you have to do what you have to do, Mr. Dempsey. That's what they're going to say. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm okay being wrong. It's okay. I live, I've raised 2 daughters, so I've lived in a house with 3 females. I've been wrong a lot. Just ask them, okay? Additional questions? Yeah. Can we get a mic? Genevieve should not be the one running.
Just early childhood education teachers, what do they have to say about this and the number of children that is ideal in a classroom?
Early childhood.
I haven't heard about the educators, the teachers, what their recommendations are.
I don't know.
I think that's important before we make financial decisions.
So keep in mind, let me back up a little bit though. Early childhood is a different budget. Okay, no. I'm sorry. So thank you for that clarity. When you say early childhood, we immediately go to pre-K. So you're talking kindergarten through 4th grade. So again, in that survey, we can ask them, what grade do you teach? And what are your feelings about consolidation? So they'll tell us in that survey, I'm a pre-K teacher, I'm a kinder teacher, and you can divvy that up. You can tease that out. It'll come out. We use Google Forms typically, and then once it's out in a spreadsheet format, you can organize that data how you choose.
And not so much feeling, but what is the recommendation of professionals regarding class size? Because don't we need to start first with what the needs are, how we want to invest and have thriving children in a learning environment, and then figure out how do we get the money to provide that?
Okay. Well, I appreciate those comments. I think these are pieces of the survey we can work out. I encourage you, Ms. Villalobos, because she's in charge of federal programs, I encourage you to get involved in the community meetings. We had the first one last week. We'll have 3 more in different places of the district. And that's where we try to dig in to come up with, when we say the community needs, we're talking the community of Gadsden. Then we'll try to prioritize those needs. And trust me when I tell you, when you get the list of needs, you typically have more needs than you can accomplish. So you have to have them prioritized and say, okay, we're going to tackle these 2 this year. We're going to tackle these 3 next year. And you try to whittle them off that way. But I encourage you to be a part of that conversation.
And the next one is November 17th at Chaparral High School.
Otra vez yo tenía otro comentario. Aquí en la escuela de Desert Pride tienen a los niños de 3 y 4 años. Entonces, si es que llegan a mover a los estudiantes para acá, van a tener servicio de cafetería y de enfermería. Porque mi niña está ahí y una vez necesitaba que la enfermera la mirara y la de Desert Pride estaba ocupada. Entonces le hablaron a la de Berino y ella fue a ver a mi niña allá. Entonces también es otra cosa a considerar. Cuando los niños aquí tienen el día de profesiones, ellos invitan también a los niños de 3 y 4 años. Honestamente no sé si los de Desert Pride o los estudiantes de Altavista tengan eso también, o solamente es por los niños de Berino, o también cuando ellos hacen sus desfiles del listón rojo o de la semana rosa, también invitan a los niños, que muchos no sé si sepan, pero los niños que están ahí, ya sea que tienen como problemas para socializar, tienen un plan, tienen lo que le llaman el IP, entonces esto les ayuda mucho a ellos. No sé si también han considerado esa parte.
Okay, I really, when you think of Desert Pride, I don't see a change in that really at all. What you described to me, I really love hearing, is we've integrating each other. I'm going to suggest, and Ms. Barciaga is in the back of the room, and when I came into the district, Ms. Barciaga was the pre-K director. And I don't know, Ms. Burciaga, I don't want to steal words from you or put words in your mouth. Sometimes pre-K felt very distant, meaning like something else, something like an afterthought a little bit. And I have worked very hard to say, no, we're a pre-K 12 district. Bring pre-K in. Our kiddos need pre-K. I'll share an experience. I think I was at North Valley. First week of school this year. I'm pretty sure it was North Valley. One of those schools in the northern part here. And a kinder teacher, gosh, I mean, it was like automatic, and it was like day 3. And I was like, what is going on here? Like, what's the secret sauce? And she says, it's never happened to be a kinder teacher. I've never had this before. Every one of these kids went to Gadsden pre-K. And I'm telling you, that classroom was rocking. They knew where their centers were. They knew who to line up. And it was day 3. And we get more and more and more of that type. Oh, we're just going to get better and better academically. So, no, I don't see a change for Desert Pride and the pre-K program that's there. I don't see a change. Okay. I appreciate everybody's time. We're going to do this again at 5:30. So if you have burning questions like, he didn't say this or he said this the other day, write it down. Come throw a dart at me tonight at 5:30. You can be online. We have translation services. And hear this as we leave. I realize this is not easy. It would be, trust me when I tell you, it would be easier for me to say, this is somebody else's problem. But that, to me, is not the right thing to do. Okay? Thank you for your time. Please be safe. Come back and see us at 5:30. Thank you.